Good evening or afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. This is Daniel Faust, one of your hosts for Learn and Live. And this week, we are always, in this fourth week, we are interviewing war heroes to superheroes. And each day, we have a different war hero to superhero that we interview to hear about their war story and how they transform to superhero so you can benchmark and glean off them to make that transformation a lot easier. So today, we have our new war hero to superhero, Michelle Murray. Thank you for joining.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, thank you for the time. It's awesome. So as we go, if you guys watch us in the past, we usually go through a certain questions and then we take your comments. So always remember, this is a dialogue, never a monologue. Everybody likes to dialogue with me afterwards, but this is a live show. So remember, comments, we can answer questions. But we're going to go over Michelle's story, ask her the questions, and give you the tactics and tools so you can go over and thrive, because Michelle's already made that transformation. She's been doing it for years. I've been tracking her for a long time, and she's doing it better than me, so we might as well go over and pass the torch to her and let her start telling you about her war hero story, how she got into this service and how to make that transition.
Wow, that's a mouthful. So again, thank you for having me here. And I want to preface this by saying I have never considered myself anything with that hero jargon on it, either war hero or superhero, but just regular person who's a teach, coach, and mentor. That, like, honestly, at the end of the day, that's all I consider myself. But and so you're saying tell you my war hero story?
It's basically telling us your service. So we at our show, War Hero Superhero, consider anybody that went in the service, because you're in the battle every single day serving your country. You might have not gone directly to war, but you're fighting to keep your marriage, keep your family, keep your leadership. And it's a huge transformation story. So that's why we branded it that way. So it doesn't matter if you went to Iraq, Afghanistan, or going over and push papers like I've done. The thing is that you're fighting for the country. So that's why we want to hear that story.
So, well, and that's interesting. Just like you said, yes. You know what? People don't realize that military service, like, it takes a special kind of person to endure that. And I specifically use the word endure because we give so much of ourselves, selflessly to others for the betterment of our country and of the world, that many times there are things going on at home that we had to sacrifice, and that, we're some other battles raging because of our service. And I am a combat veteran. So lots of stories, but I initially came in, I had a little break in service. I first came in the late 80s, and I first came in as a medic. But back then, if anything happened to you, especially a girl, they would send you home right away. I broke my wrist and about 19 months in, so I got sent home. And then, I had the option to come back. So I had about a 2-year break, and then I came back. But when I came back the next time, and it's such an interesting story, because I went to see my recruiter, and he said, based on your score, you scored pretty high on this thing. I have the coolest job ever if you'd like to do it, this Patriot missile crew member. And I thought, well, what is that? And I don't know what that is. And so he says, have you ever seen the movie War Games? And I said, or no, Patriot Game. And I said, yeah, I saw it with Matthew Broderick. And he says, remember when they got ready to go to war, they called the main character and he made the decision. And I said, yeah. He said, well, that'll be you. That's your job. Okay, so my job was anything but that. That was not it. Nobody was calling me personally to see could we go to combat. But I was an air defense soldier, which is combat arms. And for the benefit of your audience that isn't watching, I'm always amazed at the number of people who think women just started going to combat last year or last month. Yeah. I served in a combat arms MOS for pretty much my entire adult life. So women have been seeing combat for many, many years, even before me. But so I worked with the Patriot missile system. And in short, that meant my second home was the Middle East. Oh, wow. I was deployed often, Saudi Arabia, Kuwait primarily, but some other places that a lot of people don't know of, Qatar, Bahrain, little places like that for TDY or whatnot. And I was a part of OIF-1 with Shock and Awe. I led troops in combat for that. And that was quite an experience. And I did a lot of other really cool things. I got to jump, with the Golden Knights, one of their seasons. I got to test out the Stinger missile system, almost on a joke. It's funny because my sergeant major was friends with the Stinger sergeant major, and they said, we're wondering if women can do that. I want you to go over there and train with them unless you're scared. So no, I'm not going to admit I was scared, even though I was. And so anyway, so I got to test that. And I mean, honestly, I got to do a lot of really, really cool, super fun things. I got to do things that other people don't do, like visit a place called, Saudi Arabia. Just lots of things. I've just about any veteran I know, I've seen some things that maybe I wish I hadn't seen.
Yeah.
But all of those things collided to give me the intestinal fortitude, the mental stamina to take on anything in life. Honestly, that, I guess you can even take it back as far as basic training, that there's literally nothing that a human being can do to you that's going to break you. And once you realize that, you're unstoppable. And that's the truth, because so many people don't realize, outside of death, okay, it's different if they kill you, but I mean, there's literally nothing a person can do to you to just stop you unless you allow it, And so that's the place from which I've always operated, no matter how difficult something was. And that was the place I always taught my soldiers to operate on. Like, it might be horrible, it might be bad, it might be the worst thing ever, but it will get better. Like, even if you go to rock bottom, the worst day of your life, you're going to survive. Just hang in there, because then tomorrow comes and it's a better day and it's an opportunity. And now, since you've experienced this horrible, awful stuff, well, everything else is like a piece of cake. You can get through it. So, so my military career definitely helped, instill that in me. I was blessed to have some really great leaders along the way, phenomenal leaders that helped me to be a better leader and to embody the spirit of the law. Sometimes it's not always just the letter of the law, but the spirit of the law, and see people as they need to be seen sometimes. And that's carried over into my post-Army life and my post-Army career. But so that hero moniker is I've never attached that to myself, but there are, I've been in units that are in the history books. So, I know that we have helped the world be a better place, and I find great peace in that. I'm thankful that I was able to do that, no matter how rough it was. No, sleeping in the field, deploying, and all of that stuff. It makes it worth it when it helped make the world a better place, or it helped provide some skill sets for me that will help me help a fellow veteran in some form or fashion. So I don't know what else you'd like to know, but that's kind of like, in a nutshell, my war story.
Yeah. So how many years did you serve?
So I'm retired. I did 20 years and 13 weeks.
Awesome.
We can't forget those 13 weeks. Quite important. Quite important. And it's funny because I was telling somebody else, I actually just interviewed for a thing for the Smithsonian Institute. And I was telling them that when I went to do my final out, I was looking at my paperwork, how you look over your DD-214. And I said, hey, what is this FSTE? It says 11 years and 14 days. What is that? And the lady says, oh, that's your foreign service time. And I said, no, because I was only in Germany like 4 years. I wasn't there 11 years. And she says, no, that's all your deployments.
Oh.
And I realized, and I asked her, I said, you mean to tell me I spent 11 years and 14 days of my life in the Middle East, basically? And she said, I guess, yeah. And like, that's when it hit me. Maybe some of the personal sacrifices I'd made, being away from my family, being away from my home, that kind of thing. And until I saw it in black and white, I didn't fully comprehend it. I knew it because I lived it, but seeing it in black and white, it was a little bit shocking to realize just how much I had been gone.
That's a long time, because I had 11 years, 7 months, and 29 days in active duty. So you basically took all my active duty and spent that in basically foreign land.
Yeah.
So, and over half your career in that
Mhm.
regard.
Mhm.
So 20 years and 13 weeks, you said. What was the hardest part, or the lowest point in that transition? You get out, you go to TAPS, you get out of the service. Yeah, you get maybe a check a month later because you're retired. Some of us don't. I get out and they went like.
Yeah.
So what was the hardest or lowest point in there? Was there any hard or lower point, or was everything just smooth for you?
So you know what? That's a great question, and I hope there is some active duty person listening to this, and I can help them out before they transition. So I've never had a low point. I've never had a hard time. The only thing that I had a hard time with was accepting that the civilians I was now around didn't have the same level of
Mhm.
order and discipline in their life that I expected, that I demanded.
Mhm.
So that was a little bit difficult for me, because by the time I got, I had a staff to do everything. If I said do it, they went and did it,
Mhm.
and things were very ordered in my entire life up to that point. Even in my household, very orderly.
Mhm.
And so to get out amongst civilians, it was that was a little bit different. The first thing I did, I taught at a university in New Mexico for a little bit, and I just remember being so upset because my assistant would say, "Well, that's not my job." Well, why? 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 I would have students that didn't want to be there,
Mhm.
and that just blew my mind. But it wasn't, that was just culture shock, if you will.
Yeah.
But as far as a low point or a hard time, I can truthfully tell you, because I decided to make a plan, because I had leadership that facilitated when I said I wanted to leave service. I didn't have any issues. I had a plan 13 months before I got out of the military. I followed it through. I
Wow.
did everything with the VA. I started it, a year out. And the day that I did my final out, I already had my VA rating. I was
Mhm.
already rated 60% the day that I got out.
Wow.
They called me on the phone to let me know that everything was processed and there would be no issue. Um, but let me tell you what I see often, because right now I volunteer as like a VSO. I help other veterans file claims and interface with the VA, something I'm working with our local VA in El Paso, Texas. I just talked to our director. Unofficially, I kind of do like a little mentorship program, like like a sponsor. If somebody calls me, they've been out of the military 29 years, they've never gone to the VA, they don't know how it functions. I
Mhm.
literally go and escort them in their first 2 or 3 sessions. I walk them around the VA, right? Like babysitter, if you will.
Yeah.
Um, just because I saw the need for that. But so going back to me, so before I got off active duty, I had already gone to the VA and I did my preliminary registration.
Mhm.
I walked around. I learned who was who, which clinic would I be assigned to. I went and introduced myself, and I familiarized myself with things. Where's the cafeteria? Where's the lab? I wear glasses, so where's the optometry? Well, everything that I knew I would need, I familiarized myself before I got off of extra duty. I mean, alpha extra duty before I got off active duty,
Mhm.
and so that helped a lot. When I back then it was called ACAP. Now I think it's TAB Transition Assistance. But
Mhm.
that 2 week thing that you do before you get out of the military, a lot of people go and they do this,
Oh yeah.
and they sleep the entire time.
Mhm.
They don't pay attention. They don't take notes. All they want to do is get that DD 214 and get the heck out of there, right?
Most
Okay,
people.
that's the wrong answer, because you're not punishing the VA, you're not punishing the military, you're not punishing your commander, your section chief, or anybody else. If
Mhm.
you don't pay attention at that crucial point, you will be severely punished for much of the rest of your life. So I hope there's an active duty person listening. Pay attention at that out processing point. So one of the things I asked the facilitator when I went in, I said, okay, so to maximize my benefit, what should I do here? And also, let me back up. So my colonel had told me, because at the time I was the brigade adjutant, and so the colonel that I worked with, he said, take copious notes. He says, I'm not totally sure what they do over there, but take copious notes. So I go and I talk to the instructor, and he says, yes, take lots of notes. And the instructor said, I'm going to tell you something. Some of the notes that you take will not make sense and will not be needed until 5 years, 10 years, 20 years down the road. And he says, so get you a good notebook, take notes somewhere you can keep it forever, keep it with your important papers. So that's what I did. And like I said, I had a plan. I already had it laid out. I had a job about 45 days before I ever left the military. And, you know, so I was able to interface. I found out, I think a Wednesday. On Thursday, I was teaching school. You know, that's what I did. So I had this plan and everything was mapped out. And 6 months in, something would come up. I'd look at my notes and I'd say, oh yeah, that thing, you know, a year, 3 years, 5 years. I'd have some question about something and I'd go back and look at my notes. And sure enough, everything was there. 7 years, 8 years now that I've separated. And maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago, something came up. I whipped out my notes and oh, there it is. That's what we do. This is how we do this, because they teach you everything, even how to upgrade your claim, how, like anything you can think of that you're going to need, you know, how to file a widow's pension. What do you do if, you know, you died, but you hadn't updated your insurance? All of that stuff is talked about. All of that stuff is there. So that's critical. People definitely need to pay attention when they out process. You know, and also I run into a lot of veterans that have been out quite a while, have never been to the Department of Veteran Affairs for anything, either education or medical. And now all of a sudden, and this is a true story, I'm working with a veteran who is 84 years old.
Wow.
He separated from service 63 years ago.
Wow.
He's never contacted the VA for anything, not for his home loan, not for his education loan, nothing, not for any kind of pension, not to file a disability claim. So now his daughter, who goes to church with me, brings him to me, and we're having a conversation, you know, what's going on. And so the first question I ask is, but why? Why haven't you been here? And I find out what he's spending on medical. He has cancer now.
Yeah.
He's spending thousands upon thousands and he doesn't have it. And so I asked him, why have you not been going to the VA? Why didn't you come here sooner? And he says, I don't need anything from them. Well, yeah, you do. So we calculated how much he spends a year just on his normal medical for he and his wife. Then I calculated how much the VA home loan would have saved him.
Yeah.
He struggled, paid out of pocket a little bit for the kids, his five kids, to go to college.
Wow.
And so we tabulated the money he spent there. He's never been to college because he said he couldn't afford it.
Wow.
And he didn't realize he had the GI Bill. So we tabulated everything he'd left on the table for 63 years, and it was $11.7 million.
Way under what I was thinking. I was thinking $500,000. Wow.
Yeah, $11.7 million he left on the table between his medical and just every other benefit. And I said, well, you know, that's ridiculous. So now at 84, he wants, you know, and he doesn't have insurance either, a life insurance. So now he wants to go to the VA. He wants to be a disabled veteran. He wants all these things, but guess what? It's expired. Many of these things have expired. Also, because he didn't register right away with the Department of Veteran Affairs, well, from what I could see in his records, honestly, he'd have probably been 100%. He's you know, he was a Korean War vet, a Vietnam War vet who saw action.
Yeah.
He had some disabilities right away that are really, really affecting him now. From what I can see, my belief system is, my personal belief, the VA did not endorse that or say that. My belief is he probably would have been 100%. And we did the math on that as well. He probably would have been 100% back in 1966, I think it was, that he was released from service. But he didn't do that. And now, you know, he's scrambling and it's F the VA. I hate the VA and forget the, well, but you did that to yourself. And so I said all that to say, as veterans, we just need to learn how to play the game and play it well. Because I can truly tell you, I've not had any of those issues. Why? Because I played the game. I did everything that I was supposed to do. Just like if you're going to sit down and play Monopoly and you've never played Monopoly before, you look at the rules or you ask somebody, how do I play this game?
Yeah.
They explain it, and then you do the things they told you. The Department of Veteran Affairs is no different. All right. And there's different state benefits for veterans depending where you live.
Of course.
Take advantage of that because listen, you were shot at, you had missile rounds impact around you, you slept in the field, you went TDY, you sacrificed your family, you gave up your own personal freedoms in exchange for that stuff. So why would you not take that stuff? You get what I'm saying? Like, and also it'll make life a little better. Like for me, I've fully maximized my education benefits. So it was enough to pay for my first 2 degrees and part of my son's master degree, right? So we're in a much better place. And so all I've had to focus on, I'm working on a doctorate, was what remained with that for that. What scholarships didn't cover. So that helped me. And I can tell you, I can put a dollar value on it of $176,000 that my military service helped make my family better. That's something that will make life better for my grandchildren and my great grandchildren, right?
Yeah.
So veterans need to look at that. The actions that we take in our lifetime, the things that we do in our lifetime, it impacts our families for generations to come. So it behooves all of us, make a solid plan. Everything you do, risk mitigation, risk management, that's not just some little cute thing that the military forced you to do before you did sergeant's time on Thursdays or before you went to the field. That's something that really makes an impact and makes life a lot more manageable and helps you, not have as many unpleasant experiences, and that's just one example. So we need to take the things that we learned in the military and apply them to our civilian life, because I assure you, I don't care what your MOS was, if you were a tanker, if you were air defense, if you were MI, whatever it was, I assure you that everything the military taught you can be translated into something to make your civilian life amazing. Seriously, just to make it amazing. So, like in my current business, my experience as a section chief, as a platoon sergeant, as plans and operations in COIC, is everything that I did. All of that helps me effectively run my civilian business. Monthly counselings, the counselings I received as an E4 below, the counselings I gave as a leader, that has helped me be aware of things and to implement strategies within my own business that make it a lot more impactful and transformational. Because I tell people, the military is transformational, meaning it's life-changing, right?
It is.
That's the way I operate my business. It's absolutely transformational, but we have to apply all of these things that you learned in, I'm Army. So the things you learned in PLDC, BLC, all the leadership courses that you go to, you apply that stuff to your life, because most people are so busy rushing around, they get all that white noise and they don't understand or take the time to see how the entire military experience can roll over into a successful civilian experience. But it really can. So, at the end of the day, I hope any active duty person that's listening decides to make a plan. Do not get out of the military if you don't have a plan. That is the worst thing you can do. You may not wind up homeless living, behind a trash dumpster at Walmart, but you're going to have some rough patches if you don't make a plan, if you don't take the experience and use it to somehow make your civilian life better. Like, it's just, and I see entirely too many people that don't make use of the benefits and don't make use of the training. And listen, in the military, we get world-class training. The military literally spends millions of dollars to train us, to teach, coach, and mentor us. On a civilian level, the training that we receive, people fight to get in those courses. Like, for example, the Disney Institute. Walt Disney has an institute that civilians fight to get into, right? It's preeminent. Well, I've taken some of their courses, and it's everything the military taught me. But the course I just took was $7,500. And it's the same stuff the military taught me.
Yeah.
You know, I enrolled in a course over at Harvard Extension, and God bless Disney and God bless Harvard Extension. But I took a class, Leading in Crisis, right? Leading during this pandemic through Harvard Extension. That's another course that costs a couple $1,000s. And you know what it was? It's everything that we learn in BNOC. It's everything we learned. Just they put the Harvard label on it. So I don't know if somebody over there was in the military and packaged it up for a course, but I share that to say, hey, you've learned some valuable things in the military. And you know what? It doesn't even matter your rank. If you paid attention as an E3, you can come out of the military so much better than when you went in. If you were an E4, okay, you can still come out because you hopefully had a leader who was imparting lessons upon you. And let me tell you something, even if you had a garbage leader, that leader was still imparting lessons on how not to be, right? So we can all take things away. Organization, success in life depends on your ability to be organized and to make a plan and to, some people aren't going to like this, and to operate in facts and not your emotions. Okay.
That's huge.
Yeah, that's something that the military teaches us. It instills in us because why? We'll wind up dead if we go off of our emotions, right?
Correct.
But in the civilian sector, parents, and I'm speaking to my generation and below, we have to instill this in our kiddos. We have to instill this in our kids, even in the civilian world. Because something made us angry, because something made us sad, so what? Stick it in your pocket, look at the facts, and keep it moving. Because if you can't do that, you won't find success. You will find victimhood every single time.
Yeah.
And a lot of sorrow and a lot of depression and a whole lot of other things. Now, and listen, it's not to say human beings don't get sad or we don't get mad, because we do. We absolutely do. And some people, you know, have it where they can't shake it. And there's mental health professionals for that. And there's nothing wrong with that. But for those of us who can focus, we need to be able to put those emotions in our pocket and operate on facts. Because I can assure you, if you operate in an emotional place, you're going to have a really hard time finding success. And I'm not saying you need to be a robot. I'm not saying you need to be like that grouchy, mean girl, mean guy all the time. I'm not saying that. Yeah. I'm just saying you still have to think clearly, like the military taught you. So I don't know. I've gone off on a tangent. So.
Your tangent covered everything on what experiences that started your transformation, and with the 13 months prior getting set up, you were talking about what you were doing now. So you kind of answered the questions with it.
Okay, good. Yeah, planning.
And I wanted to culminate all that with this, is that's why we started our business, is that the civilian world says, live and learn, live and learn, live and learn. That's all emotional. Like, feel it out, smack into the wall, and then you do. And I kept hearing that. I'm like, that's total BS. We need to learn and live. And when you learn, you're using your intelligence first, and then your emotions as the barometer to make sure it's accurate. Because sometimes intellectually you can get skewed. There's so much information out there. But we need to use, because when we use emotions on the top and we use intellect on the bottom, we'll justify. Oh, I got angry, I slapped somebody. I got sad, I didn't do my work. Oh, I got pissed off, I left the job. Or I passive aggressive, whatever it is, from the bedroom to the boardroom, we go do that on a constant basis. For us at Learn and Live and at War Hero to Superhero on the show, our goal is to transform you to just take those skills and now make them transferable. You already were here, already doing it. You did it, Michelle, for 20 years. And now you're just taking those same skills and tactics and saying, how now do I apply that to the civilian sector? I have to learn, I have to observe, I have to do my con ops, I have to make sure I have my 6-point plan, risk mitigation, and then I live that out, and I still come back and then do a hot wash at the end to continue to do that. You did that fantastic. I mean, that's the thing that should be happening. That's what we're fighting for. Up at Congress, is to get those things in there, because we got to give the veterans time. You had great mentorship to say, hey, 13 months prior. For me, it's totally different. It's like, all right, you're getting out of service because you're not qualified in this MOS. And I'm like, okay, I've told you for a long time I wasn't qualified in the MOS, but you made me stay. You back my old MOS because of a regulation. I'm like, all right, it doesn't make logical sense, but it makes military sense. And I started looking, but the thing was is that I didn't know I was getting out. And then the way they gave tax is like, it was a ton of information. The thing was is that the application, I didn't have 13 months to apply it. So that's the reason why I could see myself. But every time when I went back that second time, I was a reservist and I went there in a week and I told the guys, I'm like, you got to listen. I'm like, there is golden grenades and you're not going to be able to constitute it all in one thought. And you're not gonna be able to execute all, but keep that in there and keep the connections. The network is the net worth in that particular regard. And that's what goes over, and at least in my eyes, and what we want to grow with Learn and Live and our War Hero to Superhero show is to get people there to thriving in those places. Take all the hundreds of thousands of dollars of education and wisdom, and now just we want to help you apply it to the next level. So you're not just thriving when you were active duty, guard, reserve, first responder. You're now thriving in your transformation out to get to your next dream and destiny. So you just basically took that and culminated all my questions in a nutshell. Okay. So what are you doing now specifically that you're helping transform people's lives? Like, could you go into it briefly?
Okay, so my son and I actually have a business together, KMP Entertainment. And so we do a little bit of indie production, but we do a lot more of, interfacing with the major studios is more what we do. But we do a little bit of indie production. My son's actually, since he was little, my son's been, he's a professional actor. When I got out of the military, I went back and got a second undergrad degree in entertainment business. I got a master's degree in creative writing with an emphasis in screenwriting. My son has an undergrad in entertainment business, and his master's degree is in media design. So, and then the people on my team, so my squad, because I set my business up very much like the military, right? And so yes, my heart, I did want to like help different people at first, but then I had to get military because I had all these people that weren't ready to execute. So then I set up my squad. And so on my squad, we all have the undergrad degrees in the entertainment business and different master degrees. So, and so that's the main core. That's the squad. And I kind of function like the platoon sergeant. And then what we do, we have some other like second, third, and fourth squad, but we kind of take the lead. But what we do, so we have different divisions. So we do a little bit of production. My son still acts. I'll float on different network shows as well. I haven't quite got my foot in the door to be permanent on the show, but one day it's coming. And so we have a few things that we do. We do have we have a talent representation division where we handle models, musicians, and actors, and some corporate clients, and we'll do all of their brand strategies. From inception of the brand all the way through to execution of the brand is what we'll do for them, as well as like book them for work, find adequate work for them. We just recently, about a month ago, we went from author services such as editing and that kind of thing to full-on publishing. So that's a service that we have. And then, we do media design, and I also do a lot of professional development training, going back to, as an NCO, teach, coach, and mentor. So you want to be a writer? Okay, come on. You need to take this master writing course and let me show you how to work in this business. So everything, we educate people on how to thrive and live in abundance in the industry, because a lot of time the myth is you can't make a living in entertainment, but we know that's a lie, because all we have to do is turn on the television or go to the movies, right? So it's not out of anyone's grasp. They just have to learn the rules like anything. So I always say the entire reason that we're in business is to help creatives thrive. We are a one-stop shop for all things creative, for somebody who's serious and wants to make a living at doing this. We just launched what we term the Entertainment Business Council under the umbrella of our business. And so that is geared toward, we set up an endowment fund. And right now we have one donor plus myself and my son. So we got to ramp that up. But hey, just launched. But if a lot of times I hear money is the obstacle to why they're not taking classes, why they're not doing things to further. So that's why we set up that endowment fund. But then through the Entertainment Business Council, we have industry experts, industry movers and shakers who will teach, coach, and mentor the folks who come through KMP Entertainment. So at the end of the day, we're a one-stop shop. And where did I learn all these strategies? How did I decide to put it together that way? The military. I literally have an S1, an S2, an S3, you know, and an S6. I literally have we don't call it that, but I literally have it set up that way. And I knew that even if I, you know, because we're small, even if I don't have a whole team, if I just get that subject matter expert to run that section. And so that's what we've done at this point. You know, that's why I say our master degrees, everybody's is different. And now I'm in that process of putting the teams underneath them. So they have the worker bees, but we're fully strategized like a military operation. When we go to training, or when we, you know, sometimes I take them on trips to Los Angeles. It's run like a military operation. All the logistics are handled just like a military operation. When we get ready to do an event like this, often I take people to things like the Emmys or Billboard Music Awards or whatever. So I produce an op order. I don't call it an op order. They don't know what an op order is because they haven't been in the military, but that's what I do. And, you know, it's very useful. It's very effective. You know, so my military training is definitely flowing through the veins of my business. But that's what I do. I exist so that creatives can thrive. That's the whole point why we're here.
That's really awesome. And if you're a military veteran or first responder, you can definitely connect with Michelle, and she's going to be able to help you transform that life, especially if you're in that industry, because the industry can be hard, depending on who you connect with, what resources, and everything else. That's every industry.
Yeah.
And if I would have had that wisdom when I got out, I was doing IT. And if I would have known I needed higher levels of IT, because my IT skill sets from military were only $10 to $15 an hour. If it was contract, 20 to 25. But once I found out about contract training, that's when I really got into bread and butter and even starting my business. But that's key, is to go connect with that. So
absolutely.
So our last question for you for the day is, we always ask for 3 superhero tactics. So if you had to take a veteran that you know, somebody getting out of service, somebody getting out of the force, or maybe even yourself, that maybe lessons you learned on the way, what would you want to leave them with?
So I would tell them the 3 most critical things. Let's see. I would tell you to listen. Listen is critical, right? Because we all know sometimes fellow veterans think they know everything, and they hate the service that they're leaving. They don't want to hear anything anybody has to say. But you need to listen to the good and the bad. And when I say listen, I mean listen when you out process. Listen at TAP. Listen to people who are already veterans. Listen. Seek advice falls under listen. Ask questions. Then so listen. Then I would tell you to plan. Just like in the military, you plan before you execute. We don't just go to war and then make a plan, do we?
No.
We plan and then we go. So it's the same in your life. You need to listen, you need to plan, and then thirdly, execute. Because too many people, too many of my fellow veterans, the fear is there. You know, the unknown is there. I don't have enough skills. I don't have enough money. All the reasons, I'm not going to call them excuses, but all of the things that they see as very valid reasons. So they shirk back. They don't execute. But something like I used to always tell my soldiers, and I tell my son, the only way to do is to do. All right.
Yeah.
So you go out there and you do it. And if you fall on your face, guess what? Now you got some lessons learned. You know, now you have a track record, because there's no such thing, really, if you think about it, there's no such thing as failure in my book, because what it is, it's a teaching moment. It's just, okay, I just learned that doesn't work that way. So let me re-strategize. You know, in my book, failure is motivation to go re-strategize. So I absolutely, so listen, plan, and then just execute. Don't stifle yourself. You know, don't be afraid. Whatever is in you to be or to do, go do it, you know, and reach out for help, you know, because there's no I in team. That's something we all learned in the military. Nobody finds success alone. Even if you say, I am a sole proprietorship, you're still not finding success alone. somebody is helping you. You know, the phone company helped you with a phone line. You know, even something that mundane, you did not do it 100% alone. So keep that in mind as you plan, and you'll find success. You have to identify the proper team. And then I know this is like a fourth thing, but my other bit of advice is you can't save the world and you can't bring everybody along. Okay.
No.
Because I fell into that for a little bit. Like I was really big on, I want to help my hometown. I want to help these people, you know, in this place I call home, and that don't have access or opportunity like I do. Well, the thing is, they don't all want to do the work. That's why they're still in the hometown. You know what I mean? Not everybody, but overall, they're not actually at that level yet.
Yeah, blocking for this. Yeah.
So make sure that when you are identifying your team, you have the right team members. What I say now is collaborate with collaborators. I've been on a few projects, even as recently as a year ago, where people say they want to collaborate, but only if I put in all the money, if I assume all the risk, and you know, that's not your tribe. It's not your tribe. Those aren't your teammates. So, you know, you really have to set up your dream team is what you really have to do. And it's not personal. If somebody's not suited to work with you, you can love them to pieces. But if they are not suited, they don't like to interface with people. They don't like to make sales. They don't like to do whatever it is you need to do to thrive. Okay, they can't be on your team. You know, they can cheer you on. They can participate in little bits and pieces, but they're not your core team. They're not your core team. And that's something we have to accept, because especially as NCOs, sometimes we want to rescue people. You know, we want to save the people, but sometimes you just have to let them go if you plan to thrive. Because if not, you're always going to be throwing money and resources at that team member that's not suited, instead of putting it towards your business. So that's really the main advice. Absolutely listen, you know, absolutely plan, and then just execute. Don't be afraid to execute. If you fall, you can get back up. You'll live. It's fine.
That's awesome. So those are the golden grenades, everybody, from Michelle. And Michelle, if you can just populate in the show notes, since I didn't get your website last second, if you can just go over and do that at the end. And again, everybody that's been watching, this is our War Hero to Superhero interview with Michelle Murray. Just a heads up, if you guys just jumped in, if you want Michelle to get on TV again, because she's been on TV tons of times, if you want her to get on the War Hero Superhero show, the way it works is that you just have to view this show. 3 seconds, that's all it is. That all it takes to get a view. So if she gets the most views in 3 days, that's when we elevate it, going from the Facebook Live to our TV show on War Hero to Superhero, which is on the Easy Way Network. And if you guys are interested more on going to that level and getting in there in this world, you can connect with Michelle. You can also connect with me. I have some connections, but Michelle has hundreds more than I do. So, so thank you for joining. Very blessed to have you on. Do you have any final words before we punch out?
Well, first and foremost, thank you for having me. I think these conversations are essential, because somewhere, someplace, there's some veteran who doesn't want to reach out to somebody, but needs to hear the messages that you're bringing to them through your shows. So thank you for that. Thank you for having me, and thank you for that. And listen, I'm going to put my website, and you'll have my contact information. So if there's anybody, I do have a mentorship program. So if there's anybody that would like to be involved in that, I work with veterans a lot, like every day of the week. So if you'd like to be involved in that, absolutely reach out. He'll get my website there. I'll send him the website and he'll get it up. But yes, please reach out, because I truly want everybody to live in abundance. I want everybody to thrive and just have a great life. That's what I want. So thank you for having a platform that brings them those little nuggets of inspiration every week.
Yep. Well, thank you very much too. And we're going to let you guys go. You all have a good evening. And again, this is always a dialogue. So if you guys have questions after on the replay, please put them in there. I'll keep track of them. If they're from Michelle, I'll get back to her and get her those questions so she can properly answer them. So thank you all. You all have a good night.